Bitcoin is a type of digital cryptocurrency first introduced in January 2009. It is decentralized, meaning there is no central authority controlling it. Rather, Bitcoin is peer-to-peer, or controlled by the people that use it. Bitcoin has no international transaction fees, and many would say no currency regulations either. Cryptocurrencies, or digital currencies, are electronic tokens generated by networks of computers to replace traditional currencies. Bitcoins, like other cryptocurrencies such as Litecoin or Ethereum, have value based on the exchange of conventional currencies and commodities for the tokens through special internet exchanges, such as BitPay. Bitcoin is by far the most popular cryptocurrency and was created by an individual known only by the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. Nakamoto limited the number of Bitcoins generated by the distributed network of computers in his exchange to 21 million. This limitation in supply ensures demand for the tokens, which subsequently increases its value. All Bitcoin transactions are recorded in a huge distributed ledger called a blockchain. Bitcoin transactions are grouped into a block and added to the public ledger by a process called mining. Bitcoin mining is used as a way to verify legitimate Bitcoin transactions from fraudulent attempts to respend Bitcoins. Each block is encrypted using a different mathematical algorithm that requires substantial computing power to solve. Once a block is mined, it must contain a proof of work before it's added to the blockchain. After a block is verified and accepted, the miner that solved or verified the transaction is paid a subsidy of newly created Bitcoin. Thus, the purpose of Bitcoin mining is twofold. First and foremost, to verify and record Bitcoin transactions, and secondly, to introduce new Bitcoins into the system. Although Bitcoin can be used to purchase many legitimate goods and services, it is undoubtedly an easy medium for criminals to engage in illegal activities such as money laundering, the purchasing of illegal goods, or any other transaction that criminals wish to be untraceable. On a similar note, there have been almost a dozen hacks of Bitcoin exchanges since 2010, and losses range in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Programmers and cryptocurrency communities are working hard to identify and mend the vulnerabilities in their blockchain networks. Anyone who invests in Bitcoin should have the proper internet security in place before accessing financial information and making transactions. Don't keep all of your Bitcoins in online banks or stock exchange services. Instead, use an offline Bitcoin wallet service like Electrum or Armory that let you store your Bitcoins in heavily encrypted cases on your own hard drive. Always make sure to use a strong password with these, preferably with an open-source password-generating software. For the ultimate security, keep this offline wallet on a separate hard drive or a computer that isn't connected to the internet, only transferring Bitcoins to your internet-connected device when you need to complete an online transaction.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Muhammad Salman Hanif and I'll be your host for this webinar series hosted by Stacks Pakistan. So bear with me here while we introduce ourselves. So Stacks is basically the parent company of Stacks is Hero Systems, previously known as Blockstack, a public benefit corporation, and we've raised around $75+ million in capital to develop the core protocols and developer tools for the platform. We're headquartered in New York City, and we have experts from MIT, Stanford, Princeton, and other top universities around the world. So Stacks is a full-stack decentralized computing network that enables a new generation of applications where developers and users can interact fairly and securely. Stack uses blockchain technology to build protocols and developer tools designed to enable a fair and open internet that returns digital rights to developers and consumers. We believe that Web 3.0 will appear around the Bitcoin ecosystem against a single small network. The Stacks blockchain connects with Bitcoin and adds necessary features such as smart contracts and registering assets on the internet. So let's talk about Stacks Pakistan. Stacks Pakistan chapter is a pilot project of the company that is taking community growth and development efforts ahead in Pakistan, serving as a vehicle for local leaders to adopt user-owned internet developed on blockchain and Bitcoin to further empower a wider audience to own it. Awareness and advocacy are what we're aiming for. So we can proudly say that Stacks was founded by Dr. Munib Ali, our very own, a Pakistani. Moving on, let me introduce our guests. So today we have the chairman and a member of the board of directors of KASB, Khadim Ali Shah Bukhari Securities Private Limited, is a TRC holder trading rights certificate of the Pakistan Stock Exchange. It is regulated and authorized by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan, SECP, and the Pakistan Stock Exchange, PSX. So let me start off by introducing Ali Farid Khwaja Saab, who is the chairman of KASB. He has more than 15 years of experience in equity research and investments. Prior to joining KASB, Ali Saab was a partner at Autonomous Research in London, where he led equity research of European fintech companies. Before Autonomous, Ali Saab was the CFO and board of directors of Safe Charge Group. And Ali Saab is also was also a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford. So there's I can just go on and on. So this list won't stop. So let me just dive in right down to the subject, and I just want to hand over the stage and the spotlight to you. Since you're you're the owner of a bank, how did you get into Bitcoin? Isn't that a bit challenging for for the landscape that you're in?
Thank you, Salman. Great to be on this webinar. First, just to give a disclaimer, both Durrani and I are not here representing KSB. So we are just talking from a personal basis. I am based in London, and Sardar Ahmed Durrani is based right now in New York. So we have multiple time zones in this place. It's 4 o'clock in London, and it must be early morning for Sardar Ahmed Durrani. And both of us have been a follower of Stacks from a very early days, also because Munib Ali, the founder of Stacks, is our old friend from LUM. And we're also been early evangelists and investors in crypto space. So my journey started back in 2012 when I wrote one of the earliest report on crypto when I was working at Berenberg, and I remember the German press covered it all over. It was all over the media, and the stock Bitcoin price went over $1,000, and they said, look, the oldest bank in Germany is now writing a positive report about it. So our journey has been fairly long, but so our conversation over here will be more in terms of making people understand what's the power and significance of crypto. We will not give any investment recommendation or any trading advice on how, when, what to invest in, just because from a fiduciary duty perspective and from a social responsibility perspective, we don't think that social media platforms are a platform for this.
Maybe just a hint here and there.
We are, of course, big evangelists and believers in the space, and Durrani more so than I am, in terms of he can tell you more in terms of his portfolio. But as I said, I have invested in Bitcoin and crypto, and I have invested for a long time. But that's my personal investment. So certainly, a word of caution in terms of we don't want to be perceived as Vakar Zaka, and as you and others who do social media for promoting investment ideas. But as you said, I think Stacks is doing an amazing work, and I think this donation by Hero of 5 million Stacks to LUMS is perhaps one of the most positive things I've seen in Pakistan for a very long time, because it will help Pakistan develop the ecosystem, both in terms of understanding the regulatory requirements of how to regulate the space, understanding the technological requirements in terms of training the human resource, training students across Pakistan of how to use blockchain and how to use Stacks to do development on Bitcoin. And then lastly, also evangelism about how the technology can be used in areas such as financial services, but across a lot of other blockchain technology can lead to substantial benefits for Pakistan as a country. So I think you are doing a great job. Stacks is doing an amazing work. We are big flag bearers and supporters for Munib and the work that Stacks is doing. So, and I think that's what Durrani and I would love to talk about.
Yeah, I think the sort of handpicked the institution. I don't think there's any institution that can adapt to changes quick as LUMS, and I say that with a bias because I happen to be alumni myself.
Great, so all three of them.
Yeah. Good. So Durrani Sahab, I think we'll hand it over to you for a bit now.
Well,
Yes.
just a quick intro. I've been a. Go ahead, Ali.
Before you start your intro, I will also throw in a question for you,
Yeah.
and I'll quickly sneak out while you are answering that. Salman asked about investing, and in terms of, and I know people ask that already, and I know we of course are not giving investment advice, but your experience is much more broader on it in terms of your I only own two things. I own Bitcoin and I own STX. I don't own anything else. You
So
do.
there we have it. Everyone,
And
STX.
this is a recommendation. I don't own it because I'm not a trader. I don't trade at all. I own it because I believe in the technology. Because I think so. I treat it as like buying property in Gavada. Somebody is selling you a property over there.
And that too, by the way.
That a big
That has turned out to be pretty fruitful.
So if it's built over there, it will be successful. I trust the owners of these two platforms, Bitcoin being the largest, and Stacks being our very own Munib, who we know is I think he's most credible, technically sound, and trustworthy person. So hence investing in it, but it's not for buy now, get rich, or trade now. I have no skill set in it. But over to you, Durrani. Would love to hear your views, and I'm sure the audience will love that as well.
Thank you, Ali, and thank you, Salman. Just a quick, brief intro. I am again LUMS graduate, a banker by profession originally. I always used to call myself an accidental banker. I ended up in investment banking in Deutsche Bank, at ABN AMRO and RBS in Hong Kong, and then moved from there into private equity. So that jump into private equity, or buy side as we call it, is where my horizon. I worked a little bit in Dubai, but majority of my time has been spent in Hong Kong. Right now, I'm based still in Hong Kong. So in my experience in private equity, kind of exposed to everything. We mainstream businesses, FMCGs, logistics, power stations, and उसके साथ ही आपको constantly you're aware of this on the background, which is VC. So it keeps plugging away. There's new companies coming up, and PE traditionally tells you that we're going to go with graduated companies that have grown to an extent, cash flow positive, immense potential to expand, as constantly look to do 5-year spin-off and get a listing and exit, and that's easy. VC may you take a risk. VC may 1 in 8 the concept you must have heard of it. 1 in 8 companies that you invest in actually becomes big enough and pays for the lost capital in another 7 as well.
Yeah.
And so I got into VC very slowly initially because it was a slightly more riskier play going after startups. And then from VC into crypto is a step that's relatively quicker, because once you've taken that risk, once you understand that the return mechanism, once you understand the overall structure of what you're getting into sort of a crypto space is easier. I'd like to caveat the entire discussion going forward with the fact that no matter who we're talking about, you put 10 panelists here, each panelist will have a different view on this.
Yeah, that's
essentially
true.
Only because every person has a different risk appetite, and that's when most of your private bankers come to you and make you do a KYC, right? So they're doing a risk analysis. Okay, what kind of investor are you? Do you like risk? Do you not like risk? Do you go after completely safe bets? So every individual is different. Don't expect people to agree or disagree. You don't have to be unanimous in this, right? But what I can do is I can give you guys my how base works, how my experience has been, and what kind of ups and seen as well. So once I got into crypto, and only because one of the partners at the firm that I work at, Osiris Group, he's a crypto advisor. So he runs his own crypto advisory for Spartan Group from Singapore. And Casper is quite trust. Like I said, I've invested in Gavada as well. I've invested in mainstream business like KASB securities with Ali and with Maya, which is a telemedicine play, into those as well. And Casper has always invested with me. But I've taken his advice on the flip side on the crypto market, because he sits very early stage, where he actually talks to these founders who have launched their ICOs even. He can sift through the real versus the fake. Let's just put it this way: his track record has been very good, around 80%, right? So only 20% of our actual investments fail, and that brings me to the concept investments.
That's a pretty good success ratio.
Do fail. That's a pretty good success rate. But what I want to highlight when the investments do, Like, not think that every ICO you get into is going to make you $1 million. Basically, how it works is, I'm sure you know, but for the audience, I'll just explain quickly. A white paper is just a concept, right? It's a concept that, hey, my crypto will do this. It has a use case of Y, and overall, we plan to raise X amount of money, and it's expanding. You put in, say, $10 a token, this will be worth $1,500 a token, right? This is a typical story that every founder will tell you, because believes in their substantially. I guess it's bias as well, but they do. Now, perspective, you need to figure out.
So I think when we talk about white paper, I think we're starting slightly ahead of from where we should be. I think we should go right at the root, because the audience that you're dealing with is not sitting in Hong Kong. And we're really at the
so where would you like
myself, we're really at the grassroots level, where I think we should just start from what is cryptocurrency at the base.
At the base, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll caveat again this conversation, but I'm a crypto trader by nature. I'm not a crypto specialist, not any expert. I told Ali as well that maybe having me on the call for crypto definition would not be the right track. But again, Ali would be able to give you detailed answer into the technicalities of what crypto is. Yeah. But essentially, what I'll tell you, my understanding is, crypto is simply a digital currency which has a use case. As simple as that. Let's put it this way. So someone explained to me very early on in my career how crypto worked, and maybe this will give the user some semblance. Say on the floor of your building, you have one printer, right? And on that print, and you own the printer, and you say, listen, to print your pages, I'll need one Durrani token to print one page. And only I have them, so you have to buy the Durrani tokens from me. So, and there's and then 10 users over there say, fine, we'll buy $1 per print. And I'll be like, okay, that's good enough. So I'll give them $1 for one Durrani token, and they can have as many Durrani tokens as they want. Maybe Salman wants 10 tokens because he's only got 10 pages to print. Maybe Andrew wants 500 tokens because he's got a whole book to print, right? So you buy tokens based on your need from me, and I say there's only a fixed number of tokens as well. Say there's only 1 million tokens, and you can't buy more. Now Andrew might buy a bit more in advance because he knows he's got to print a whole book, whereas you might just buy one or two, right?
Yeah, but what stops from printing from minting more tokens if he feels like it tomorrow or day after?
That's the concept, right? So that's essentially underlying promise that the founder to users that listen, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin has said that there will be a fixed finite number of tokens, and we will not publish any more. Nothing stops him from it, but if they do start printing more, whole use case falls apart, just like the US dollar, because they're going to say, you know what, you're going to keep printing it, fall.
So at the end of the day, it's the credibility of the issue.
The credibility of underlying issuer, yes. So the credibility of the underlying issuer at terms is falling right now, because if you look at the numbers just a few months back, and I don't quote me on these numbers exactly, but 30% of the dollar monetization, the actual dollar liquidity in the market right now, has been printed just in the last few quarters. That means 30% extra dollar came in the market in the last few quarters. You tell me if that's an asset you would buy.
No.
So naturally, it's good. People don't. So this question was posed to us through a interesting gimmick where they said, hey, here's a new currency where this has happened. Would you buy this currency? Everyone said, no, of course not. And then they reveal to you afterwards that was the US dollar, by the way. So these are the kind of things that people don't realize. Anyways, going back to the printer and the floor. Now, all of a sudden, we have got, let's say 200 more people on that floor. And I've still got that one printer, and still got to use that printer, still got to use my Durrani coin to buy the token, to buy, dollars to buy the token, to buy the printer, to use the printer. And all of a sudden, everyone knows there's only 1 million tokens, and everyone's there, and everyone wants to print, and there's no more printers. So all of a sudden, each printing might not be just $1 per Durrani coin, might be $5, Susan might pop up, or Iqbal might pop up and say, what, मैंने तो 3-4 books publish करनी है, so I need more tokens, man. Just get 100,000 tokens. I was like, yeah, but give me $2 million for it, right? So that's how the token ki use. That's the printing of that document is the use case. The token is utilized to use this, and value it generates is based on the demand and supply of that token is. So when people start trading Ethereum, for example, Ethereum or Ethereum, you might say differently. Ethereum people say, oh, you know what, I'm going to buy it because it's going up so much. So a lot of us traders, me included, we buy because it's going up so much. But I am not the final user of that, am I? I never use it. Bitcoin, I'll tell you the difference between the two. Bitcoin I am, Ethereum I am not. Because Ethereum is a platform that programmers, just like Stacks, use these to actually launch their own tokens or online presence, right? So they use the underlying Lego blocks to build up their own businesses. Whereas Bitcoin is simply a store of value. The only reason why it's a use case to me is because of its underlying security protocols, one, and two, that acts like a direct pivot to the US dollar. So every time Bitcoin goes up, it means US dollars basic value. Otherwise, Bitcoin koi notional value nahi hai na. It doesn't have a structural value. Munib, that the unvalued part of Bitcoin is the security protocols, which is true. But other than Stacks, no one's monetizing on it right now. See, Stacks.
Because at the end of the day, you're investing in the system, basically.
You're investing. So I'm investing when I buy Bitcoin. I'm buying the security that my notional value that I want to safeguard stays safe. Of course, Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down, but because of the finite nature of that asset class, I know it will only go up with use case unless a flashy new, sexy new alternative comes up and it takes over the world. So far,
that was my next question. What if we have a better system, since it's technology and technology is changing every day?
And that's the nature of the beast, right? It will pop up, but so far nothing's on the horizon. And when it starts coming on the horizon, this is not like buying plots that, oh, हमने तो DHA में plot खरीदा था and all of a sudden this barrier towns popped up. I need to sell, but there's no buyer. It doesn't work that slowly. You don't have to go line up in front of an office band and file nahi mil rahi. You can instantaneously do that on your crypto exchange. Of course, you might not get the value you want, but itni jaldi ko trend bhi nahi aayega. So the competitor is going to come and launch his program. You're going to look through it, or everyone talk about it. By that time, you'll figure out whether this competitor is real or not. Investor, you would have moved half your Bitcoin into that competitor anyways. Just half, just to see which one fluctuates more. But coming back to that point, so use of a cryptocurrency comes into play जब कोई underlying value हो, either to the end users or to the programmers or to the organizations that are signing up for it.
Yeah.
Right? So from there, then I step into which one is more important. Like Ali said, he's only Stacks, right? I don't call myself cryptocurrency expert at all. In no shape, way, or form am I one. But I do trade in it. I've been trading in it since 2017, right? And in that trading, I've realized a few things. जो weak tokens है ना, that have no intrinsic value or are just fads which die down, they die down fairly quickly. And it's big movements like these days, you 60,000 and 33,000 back gira. It's big movements like this that take away, let's just put it this way, cheap money, and they also take away cheap products. Because hota kya hai कि anyone whose entire underlying क्या कहते हैं आपको foundation is laid upon a weak product, people see the cracks immediately and they take the money out of it and it just literally goes to zero. And similarly, all the new investors who are just in it for a quick buck, when they lose money like this, they're like, oh yeah, ye mere liye nahi hai. You know what? I'm out of this. I don't believe in this stuff, and they get out as well.
But there's a lot of irrationality in the market as well. Like we see that with a lot of coins. For example, no offense to any of the viewers here if they've invested in Doge, but
Dogecoin,
yeah. So there's like 10,000 coins being minted per minute.
You just said it right now, right? Irrationality. Irrationality doesn't come out from the underlying value. Irrationality, okay, it doesn't come from the underlying value. You can't say whether it's rational because essentially, you know how it is, right? A snowball effect. Once it starts gaining pace and it has momentum, and like someone like Elon says, you know what, I'm going to use it as an underlying Tesla platform. it just gets that underlying value, and someone will be held in the end holding the crap, basically. It's like almost like a Ponzi scheme, right?
Yeah.
You're completely right. But whoever's running into it and making money 7, 8 times, 10 times and getting out, for him it works, right? So I'll give you this idea. So जब शुरू हुआ, so most of us went in, we made 10x, 11x, right? We got out. Went further up. Now it's more expensive. So you don't go after the entire amount that you put in last time. You put in just 10% of that.
Yeah.
And see, वो 10% zero भी हो जाता तो क्या हुआ? कुछ नहीं हुआ ना. बाकी 90% तो आपने रखा हुआ है. वो 10% भी एकदम 3 times 4 times हो गया. आपने वो भी निकाल लिया. आपने 10% अंदर डाला. You know what I mean? So your notional risk goes almost to zero, but your returns keep coming in. क्यों आप तो बेच चुके हो. और 10% is something like me who doesn't like to take a risk like something like Dogecoin. It was literally we went like a joke, and we got it with some money as well. But others I know very good traders like me यार देखो तो magic number, and this is their magic number, so I'm sure how to basically prove that it's the right number, but they say the magic number is 70-30. ठीक है? Out 30%. Leave 70% in there. To me, it's the opposite. Would take 70% out, leave 30% in there. By nature, right? Because I then spread the bets in other tokens as well. So, abhi aapka all the stuff that is floating around the market right now, you get the Dogecoins of the world. That just tarnishes the good work that is happening on stuff like Cardano, stuff like Stacks, stuff like Protocol, or
even Nano
recently, huh?
Even Nano.
Nano, exactly. LTC, Nano. For me, good players right now that I'm really looking at them, and price wise as well. The recent dip has really kind of cleaned up all the dirty money. So now it's a good price to get in. Is Stacks, Cardano, Origin Protocol, which is OGN. B, because anyone who uses Binance understands that every transaction has to be kind of paid for by BNB, right? BNB's done really well as well. If you look at it, so I remember the times not that far ago, like maybe a year ago, जब 17 cents का था.
I have a very painful story with BNB.
I'm sure everyone does.
Yes, I sold it just consistently.
You pivoted the conversation to the right comment right now. Painful stories come and go in crypto like anything. There's a meme that says कि stock market में जो है 4% या 8% market गिरती है तो people start jumping out of their windows. But cryptocurrency में 40% में market गिरती है तो बैठे होते हैं सिगरेट पी होते हैं आराम से किया है. It's true, and I'll tell you why. Been through 3 big cycles, right? I was in the cycle when it went from 20 to what? 1,500, right? No, from 1,000 to 1,500, right? And then recently a year ago when it 3,000 to all the way to 3,000 or something along those lines. And then now it went from 60 to 30, right? If you look at the numbers, पहले 10 times गिरा था. ये पहले cycle में 2017 वाले cycle में 20 वाले cycle में वो 4 times गिरा.
A bit more than 4 times because it went from 20K to around 3,500, 3,000. So
I'm assuming 5K, so it's 4 times. So 5 times कर लो, ठीक है ना? So 10 times गिरा, फिर 5 times गिरा. इस दफा half हुआ. 60 से 30 गया, right? And every time takes a much higher jump. So by nature, what it should tell you is the next jump is 100K, and if it falls even, it won't even half. It will probably from 100 to 70, which will happen. And therein lies the trade aspect of it. If you're a long-term player in these things, and I don't mean just Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just that one intrinsic value holder that we talk about, right? If you spread your bets along with all the altcoins as well, is the market which one didn't suffer that much? If you remember, it's Cardano. Cardano did really well. In the initial few days when Bitcoin was falling a lot, Cardano was going up.
Yeah, but
and I had a feeling Cardano was gonna. So what I did was I sold the Cardano to Bitcoin because all of a sudden वो जो Bitcoin की notional value थी वो इतनी हो गई. मैं कहे monetize कर लो, buy this, वो ले लिया. बाद में उसी को convert कर दिया back to Cardano when Cardano fell again. So you have to play in the game and you never. So one of my advice to all the upcoming traders and my own younger brother, for example, he works a corporate job. his friends and all are very interested in this space because they were like me and they were like, "Katte kya ho yaar, kya hota hai?" So I made them open Binance accounts. I made them put some money in, and I told them the same thing. Number one, don't try to time them. Don't try to jump. Go out 4-5 cent chad gaya. As a so follow the market for a few. Understand what the ceiling is, what the floor is. Just के दरमियान में fluctuate करता है. Once you've a generalized concept of यार कहाँ support, where the support lies and where they kind of exit, within that then start playing and preconceived notion होना चाहिए कि इतने amount पे मैंने set लगा दिया है. So the moment you buy at say 26 cents something and you know the ceiling's around 40 cents, 38% लगा दो और पूरा 100 लगाओ, 30% का लगा लो, 70% का लगा लो.
Yeah.
80% उस टाइम पे अगर वो चलता ही रहता है 40 से 50 60 70 चला गया, एटलीस्ट you're holding that 30% to get that upper value as well, right? और अगर फर्स्ट करो दोबारा गिरता है, चलो 30% तो वापस नीचे आ गया, but 70% क्या तो पड़ी है. So keep that trading mindset in mind. So again, there's two different things, right? Investing and trading are two completely different things, and this is slightly above crypto से हट के बात करते हो, आप equities की बात करते हो. Trading and investing are two different things. Investing is when you underlying understanding and thesis this product works. It could be Tesla, for example, right? आप Tesla के shares खरीद रहे हो because you underlying thesis की जी EV electric vehicle work चलते Tesla नहीं तो नहीं हो तो Chinese person, right? कि जी electric vehicles are the future. काम नहीं होना. I have a belief that the world has to go this way. I firmly believe कि battery technology hand in mouth, it'll grow very quickly. So you buy that asset and you don't look at the stock price, just like Warren Buffett says. You don't look at the stock price. You simply look at what the underlying value and where is it going, and you buy into that. That's investing. But trading is when you see the floor and the ceiling, and you want to play that fluctuation and build your simple as that. Hey Salman, I see you here as well.
Hey, Assalamualaikum Durrani, how are you?
I'm good. Just throwing some of my cheap wisdom.
Man. Words of gold. Everyone's very lucky to be hearing these words from Durrani, so that's very exciting.
Assalamualaikum.
So yeah, Salman, that's it from me. Yeah. If you feel any other questions are at hand, throw them at me. I've got another 5 minutes, but then I have to drop off as well.
Yeah, so definitely I wanted to discuss differences between mainstream cryptocurrencies and like what the features are generally for each cryptocurrency. Like people don't really know what the features are and they're just investing in the bubble. But like I said, they're just not investing, they're trading in the bubble. So that's like they should know what sort of technology that they're investing in and what's like what is the team behind it and what's the idea. So like I think they'd be investing more in the system rather than just a fad. So that would be really important.
So completely right. And on that one, I'll just have one comment basically. What I do is I don't run after every fad that people mention to me at every dinner table conversation. And people do that. Yeah, you say, "Yeah, ye dekh lo, follow this, follow that." I don't do that. You choose the 4 or 5 you know of, that you've read up on, that you've heard the speaker about, and you believe in his views. Every podcast these days, they have some forum where they actually open up their minds and their entire agenda on why they're doing this, right? So you follow those 4 or 5 scripts that you understand, and believe from there. If you want to take 1 or 2 risks, fine. You'll have your uncle telling you that something else worked and now it's down by 80% and it might come up again. Go have a read at it. Yeah. Go find out what it does. Go find out. Research is cheap these days, man. We remember the days when YouTube pe cheezein hoti nahi thi when we were younger. Now people have it at their fingertips, right? So go do some research. Stop listening to people. Just go do your research and don't try to trade in everything. Pick out 4 or 5 of them and keep weaning off the weak, adding on good, strong ones that you think are right. And that's where you make a very decent portfolio, and then stick to that portfolio. Because within each portfolio, even if you have 5, there's a lot of troughs and peaks that you're following on a weekly basis. It becomes
constant research, basically.
Constant research, and it becomes tiresome to look at those troughs and peaks as well. Agar aapne trading karni hai, to
so technical analysis, do you think would be a great key for anyone getting into this?
Yeah, that's a very okay. Let me put it this way: technical analysis is a very generic smoke and mirror term that people kind of throw at you. यूं करें तो lines को forget it, man. Come on. follow it for a week or 2 weeks, and you'll know where the general floor lies and where the general peak lies. कि जी वो 40 hit करता है फिर गिरता है, वो 26 पे आता है फिर चढ़ता है. You know where the gap is. You play that. That's it.
So I think that's slightly unfair because you're expecting, for like, I can at least speaking for myself, I don't even bother to read the manual or something before I start using it. So I think that's why like a lot of people just got into the crypto space so they don't have to work hard.
Yeah.
So that's really unfair.
Complete. I agree with you 100%. It's like saying, "Gee, now I'm in. I deserve to." No, you don't. You need to do some research.
Where's my Lambo?
Where's my Lambo? Exactly. Chalo ji, I have to drop off. Thank you so much. Great talking to you, Salman. Over to you, man.
Take care, Durrani. See you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Assalamu alaikum, Salman Hanif Saab. How are you?
I'm very well. Walaikum assalam, Salman Hanif Saab. How are you?
It's really weird actually just saying my name and like addressing someone else.
No, so I was actually about to say this is the first time in 31 years of my existence that I found somebody who has the exact first name and last name. So this is actually a very momentous occasion for me. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here. I would really appreciate it if you would introduce yourself to our audience.
Absolutely. So my name is also Salman Hanif. I'm working at a company within the crypto asset ecosystem. So a little bit about myself before I introduce the company. So I'm originally also Pakistani. I'm born and raised in London. I've now been in Dubai now for the last 6 months or so. My background is predominantly within technology and consulting. And I've spent about the last 10 years working at a variety of different companies, some big names, more in the corporate world. I've kind of dabbled into crypto probably as early as 2018, after the kind of big bubble that everyone knows of.
And late 2017, early to 2018. Yeah.
Exactly. And I kind of obviously came across Bitcoin first when it was around, I'd say, £600. I'm kicking myself now that I didn't go in at that time. But right now I work for a company called Facet, and Facet is effectively a digital asset gateway. We're based here in the Middle East, and we want to make it very easy for people to make their first purchase into Bitcoin and traditional digital assets like Bitcoin, Ether, and some of the more popular coins and tokens. I think I overheard you and Durrani talking about trading and the whole host of different coins that are out there and get rich quick kind of schemes. But effectively, our company is trying to just basically make it very simple in the Middle East first to buy crypto, but then we're actually expanding into Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Nigeria, and we're a regulated business. So unlike some of the unregulated peer-to-peer, larger Chinese exchanges, you could say, we're a regulated organization, and inshallah, we look forward to hopefully bringing our regulated business to Pakistan in the near future.
Inshallah. So I guess like with you, I can pose my technical questions and to inform our users just at the basic level about the technology that goes in. So let's just start off with, what is Bitcoin?
Sure. So let's take a real big step back. And what is Bitcoin? Why is it important? Why is everybody talking about it? So I think we need to cast our mind back to when Bitcoin was actually first coming on the scene, which was in 2008, after the financial crash. Everybody read of what happened on Wall Street. Everybody read that these big bankers making lots of money, and the average individual, had very dire consequences as a result of their bad decision making. Now, after the 2008 financial crash was the birth of Bitcoin, and a Bitcoin effectively is peer-to-peer electronic cash, whereby I can send money from Salman Hanif to Salman Hanif without anybody in front of me telling me why it shouldn't happen or why it shouldn't occur. So it's basically a version of virtual currency where money can be sent from one person to another with no intermediary, i.e. a bank or centrally controlled organization like a central bank or anybody else. So it was created by an individual or a group of individuals, is till this day still unknown, individual or group known as Satoshi Nakamoto. And after the financial crash, this whole peer-to-peer electronic cash system was developed, which is completely decentralized and actually also public, in that every transaction can be seen on the blockchain. So it was the first cryptocurrency ever to be born. And as a result of that, it represented this ideological shift in around the free flowing of value and payments between different people.
I think that about covers up like basics, like what our audience is basically looking for. So then we come to like what are the basic issues that like people might have with Bitcoin. For example, I posed a question at the Rani Sabha, said, "Okay, so let's say this individual Satoshi Nakamoto, we don't know who he is, or the group of people they decide, okay, we're not going to limit Bitcoin at 21 million. We're just going to bring it to 30 million now, and we're going to keep the rest of the 9 million, or we're going to, like, what stops them from doing that? And since they have, or they could possibly have that technology to alter the code.
No, it's a great question. Great question. So the way I always also looked at, I think if we're talking about Bitcoin, I think as you just said, we have to talk about what is the blockchain. And the birth of Bitcoin brought blockchain to the
next
mass.
question.
So they're intrinsically linked, and there is no blockchain without Bitcoin, right? And vice versa. So what is blockchain? I look at the most simplest analogy that I can think of to explain to anybody. And obviously, given that I'm working in crypto now, my friends and family have also started asking, hey, Salman, what is Bitcoin? What is blockchain? And the way to easily explain blockchain is imagine a Google Docs sheet or a Google Docs Excel spreadsheet. It's about everybody having access to that Google Docs where everybody can edit it, have access to it, but equally it's carefully controlled by a whole host of other individuals to basically verify every new entry that goes onto this Google Sheet. And therefore, no one can actually manipulate it. No one can actually kind of course correct it or change the code. And this is the kind of consensus mechanism built within this ingenious technological invention. So when you asked about, there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoins in existence, I always say this to people, the only asset on this planet which is known to be finite, not even gold, but finite asset on the planet is only Bitcoin. Now, if you think of simple supply and demand, you don't need to be an economist or a statistician to understand what happens when there's only a few things in society. But if there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin in existence, this is what explaining the long-term rise. And I think your original question was, some people may be concerned about, who made it, where did it come from? They can make more of it at any time. I mean, that's first and foremost cannot be done. But then I also ask people, look at how maybe governments print cash. What's to stop traditional fiat currency being printed on an unlimited basis, which obviously then creates, creates inflation. And I think this is one thing that we're very passionate about at the company I work for, is that, digital assets allow, for the first time in human history, with the help of technology, everybody to earn a small fractional amount of Bitcoin, Ethereum, which even till today, at the price that it's hovering at, is still on the 10-year low. If you look at the 10-year low of Bitcoin, for example, it's still up by over 200% on a compound annual growth percentage. So I think it's a fascinating space. And it's all about I think you guys are talking about doing your own research. I urge everybody to read and take an interest in this, because there's no such thing as getting rich quick. If there was, we'd all be doing it.
Well, I disagree with that.
You think so?
Well, I want to disagree there in my own world.
Me too. Me too. I mean,
there is something that can make us rich really, really quick.
For both of our namesake, let me know when you find that overnight success. I mean, we always hear about our friends telling us, "Oh, put money in this new investment, put money in this new coin." But the main thing is always do your own research and don't believe the hype all the time.
So next question is related to all the the conspiracy theories going on. So people generally tend to think that, okay, what if this is another way to control us? For example, everyone shifting to Bitcoin. Let's say all of the 7 billion people in the world shift to Bitcoin tomorrow. So that sort of takes away control from your governments, and that sort of once again puts control into the hands of the developed countries, which are people in developed countries are have a greater hold of that currency once again, as compared to your third world countries, because technology reaches them first, and a lot of people won't have access to technology at all, especially in poverty-ridden areas. So that sort of takes away control from our governments in third world countries. So what would you have to say when people say that Bitcoin is perhaps another method of first world countries exercising control over other countries?
I mean, first was a great question, and actually that's why our company exists personally. So, we're very passionate about putting Bitcoin in the most outer fringes of the emerging markets, because quite frankly, as you said, the current whales or the holders, majority of them are held in, Western countries and more developed countries. So watch this space. It's something that we're very passionate about in places like Pakistan and the Asian subcontinent. But I think in terms of as a conspiracy theory, I don't think it holds up as much. I mean, people are saying Bill Gates is supporting the vaccine so that he can track everybody, so don't get the vaccine. I mean, conspiracy theories will be there all the time. I think I would urge everybody to look at the actual philosophy as to why something like Bitcoin actually, exists. And it's purely down to the fact that human beings cannot be trusted and human beings are able to be corrupted. And this is why the whole decentralized nature of putting this in the hands of the average person, if you look at traditional assets, even if you take gold, or even if you take houses or land, these things can always be stolen. There's always some sort of family dispute that maybe someone says, no, this land is mine or whatever. But through the first time, technology is allowing, exactly. And now for the first time ever, people can say, actually, no, you know what? I own a very small percentage of 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees worth in Bitcoin, which inshallah through time will, only appreciate, as we've seen for the last 10 years since its existence, or 12 years or 13 years since it's been around. And I think therefore the conspiracy theories of saying, sure, like with most technological advancements, they hit the West first, but inshallah, I think with time it will be changing, and we'll see, we've seen some fantastic digital adoption increasing of other certain financial services in places like Pakistan, and it's only a matter of time before, people will also be adopting this more mainstream.
So the next question, I think, will be more from a policy standpoint of view. So for governments, whenever there's an economic crisis, Durrani was talking about this, how the dollar, 30% of the money supply of the dollar increased during this whole epidemic time in this past 1.5 year, one year or so. So. Governments sort of print more money to increase economic growth in the short run, with sort of people become delusioned with the idea that the consumers have a lot more to spend, and hence they produce more, which gives which results in greater employment and hence greater productivity, and the cycle goes on, and you don't get stuck in a recession. So Bitcoin being limited in quantity inhibits that delusion from existing, and which can, arguably, from an economics point of view, it can inhibit growth in the long run. The government are disincentivized from legalizing Bitcoin because that makes them lose their economic control over their own people, in a way.
That's a fantastic point. I think if you look at the inflationary monetary policy that's being rolled out from governments in the West, if we look at the US Federal Reserve printing cash, as you mentioned, and obviously the deflationary kind of tendencies that Bitcoin has, I think if we put that to one side and maybe we talk a little bit about the government sentiment around these kind of traditional currencies, or digital currencies rather. So first and foremost, I think the number one concern, especially in the emerging markets, is the whole notion of capital flight, whereby, obviously countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, all these countries which are having a different stance towards, Bitcoin specifically, are worried about money leaving the country. Because again, that's the number one concern, right, with capital flight and capital control. So I think any organization that wants to kind of push forward the needle and push forward the discussion with the regulator needs to take this in complete consideration. And it's a fair consideration to have as a regulator. But my only problem I have with this argument is that if we look at Pakistan today, how many people do we know in Pakistan still trading on Bitcoin through underground operators, through unregulated means?
Binance is the 4th most downloaded app on the Play Store currently.
Okay, so there, I think you've answered that question, right? So surely, governments, not just in Pakistan, but I mean, in the emerging markets, they have a duty of care to their consumers to ensure that people are buying from regulated sources, from sources that also care about the actual users, and also making sure they're safeguarding their own money. And I think Binance being the 4th downloaded app in Pakistan, I think is the most indicative, indicator that you just mentioned.
Right. So, like, I just wanted to get a few more basics before we continue the discussion a bit more. So, like, once you see a cryptocurrency, and so you want to research more about it, and so. What are the things that you look at? What is like if you see the white paper? What is a white paper, and what do I have to do with it? And what are like key signs of me look at what are the key signs that I can say that I'm looking at a good asset as compared to a bad one, and what are the main assets on the market currently that that seem promising, obviously from an educational point of view and not an investment point of view. Disclaimer.
So I also have to start with disclaimer. DYOR, do your own research, and this is not financial advice. But the great questions. I think the first thing is, I would say, like with anything, the power of knowledge is now in our hands. You can just quickly, get a very quick pulse of any new project that you might hear of. So first and foremost, I would say, even before you look at the white paper, is just do a simple Google search of this project. You will start to look at the website, look at the team, look at the credentials of the people behind this token. Have they worked at reputable organizations? Have they got a solid track record of whether it's education or other reputable projects? I think Reddit is a great way where it's kind of democratized access to knowledge in a way that wasn't previously possible, that you have some really honest threads around certain projects. And if a project is really good, it's probably going to have a following no matter how big or small on Reddit. So I would say, look at the white paper, as you mentioned, understand the actual underlying utility of this token. So what is the exam question that this token is looking to address and answer? What are the underlying integrations for this token? What is its use case? And only from that, then you'll start to understand, okay, this use case is very specific to this industry, or maybe this supply chain. Because the wonderful thing about the whole decentralized finance kind of ecosystem, or this whole altcoin ecosystem, is that some of these projects, and a lot of them actually have so much underlying economic utility that actually they can be very beneficial to both society at large and this ecosystem. So look at the team, look at where they've worked, look at the companies that they're associated with, look at what exchanges that they're listed on. That's another big thing. Credibility of a token would come from the exchanges that they're listed on, or whether it's actually regulated. And if I can make a good analogy to Stacks, I mean, Stacks being regulated, one of the first, if not the first, to be regulated by the SEC in the US, goes to show that credibility that's been given from a regulator as stringent as the SEC shows that it's a solid project to back. So I would say, look at these kind of key indicators before you want to part with your hard-earned cash.
So yeah, that was like a really important question. Now, recently we see that there's more of a diversion, and like a lot of people argue that Bitcoin was never really meant to be the end goal. Bitcoin was never meant to be the end game asset. It was just a gateway to crypto, to the crypto universe. Like, for example, you see better coins, even when you say even when you're comparing them as a store of value. Like, they say that Bitcoin is inefficient. For example, Elon, even though I am not really fond of his antics, but Elon recently mentioned how mining was environmentally detrimental, and that's a fair point. Like, a lot of the energy that goes into mining does come from fossil fuels. That's true. So and there's also transaction costs for Bitcoin and mining, like electricity consumption, and the time that it takes for Bitcoin to process. Like, I just can't go to the supermarket to buy stuff from using my, let's say, Binance debit card, because Bitcoin transactions do take very long, and it does take that's not enough. For wherever I'm spending, that's not enough for them to know that I've made the transaction. They need to have received an amount to know that it's confirmed. So it's not efficient. And that's why the argument here is that Bitcoin was just merely a gateway. And when people say that, oh, Bitcoin's going to $1 million or so, that's not necessarily true. It's basically our way to other cryptocurrencies that are going to be more efficient, more cost effective, and that's the end game.
Look, you raised some really good points, and I think there's a few things that we can address. So first of all, the $1 million question is Bitcoin a store of value or a method of payment? Now, you read the white paper, it will suggest that it's a method of payment. If you look at the way society has brought value to Bitcoin itself, it's most likely being seen as a store of value right now. But at the same time, there's multiple applications for it. Now, you're right, you can't go into your Starbucks right now and buy your mocha latte with your Bitcoin. However, we're seeing increasingly organizations like PayPal offering their 350 million users worldwide, allowing them to also now buy, sell, hold Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies. Yes. Institutions are pumping money into Bitcoin. So I think if we put things in compartments, I mean, Bitcoin is being seen, it's here and it's here to stay. It definitely gave birth to this ideological shift in the way that we now see value as a society. And you brought up some very interesting things like Elon and energy. So we'll address a few of these points. So for me, Bitcoin is a store of value. I think that's why it's been drawn. It's being seen to be kind of digital gold through time. It has a similar hallmarks like gold, where it's hard to mine. It requires effort. It's also inherently backed by the next person saying it has value, just the way gold is. Now we talk about the energy efficiency or deficiency. I mean, there's lots of research to suggest, that the traditional banking sector alone takes far more electricity consumption than Bitcoin mining. And there's all these big, FUD, kind of headlines there saying that, Bitcoin is very bad for the environment. But let me ask you this. What would happen when you take out all of if you look in the Western world, the banks that have all these different high street units, there's a different, can't find the word, outlets for the different actual high street banks. Let's pull those away. Think about the amount of electricity to run them, the individuals who are working in them, and you strip that all away. I mean, surely that'd be far more efficient from an energy standpoint. Then you brought up Elon. I mean, what I find very interesting for everything that Elon is doing, which I do believe is market manipulation, and I do hope that somebody cracks down on his very crazy ways of just pumping up Dogecoin and etc. But if you look at Elon's purchase of Bitcoin, $1.5 billion of Bitcoin, that the appreciation on that Bitcoin alone surpassed the whole of Tesla's revenue in the last 8 years from making cars. And I think that just says it all. So there are so many arguments, and people are going to be naysayers. I think just to summarize my point is, we are still a little bit far away from being able to walk into a store and buy something with Bitcoin. But even here in Dubai, houses actually are being sold and bought and sold in Bitcoin. We have PayPal opening up this kind of acceptance. We have crypto cards such as Coinbase that released this. We have obviously Visa and MasterCard, in lots of partnerships now to announce these crypto cards. So it's not that far off. But the simple thing is, why would you want to spend your crypto, such as Bitcoin, when it's appreciating through time, when you're probably better off just holding it until the future?
So, on a closing note, since the webinar series is basically hosted by Stacks Pakistan, so I want the closing note to be on Pakistan. Like, what does Pakistan as a country have to gain by opening up its own exchange and jumping on the bandwagon and saying, okay, we want to legalize crypto and we want our people to be exceptionally well trained on in this particular field?
Great question. Look, as a Pakistani, I'm very patriotic to also hopefully add back to Pakistan being at the forefront as, emerging as a regional fintech hub in the Asian subcontinent and being able to export the great talent base. So what does having more involvement in this space mean for Pakistan? So I think there's a few things. First of all, there are fantastic companies around the world which are led by Pakistanis or have great Pakistani minds contributing to these startups outside of Pakistan. So for Pakistan to have a more active involvement in attracting this talent base back would be the number one thing. Our CTO, he's a 22-year-old Pakistani from Hyderabad, from Sindh. And, he's a brilliant mind. Now, unfortunately, there was no opportunity for him to really leverage. He's a Solidity developer. amazing mind, but he can't utilize that skill set in Pakistan, where he can very easily work outside of the country and earn far significant, better returns. So I think getting it right at a national level would mean that Pakistan can now attract this foreign talent base, bring it back to the community, let it impact the economy. And if you see what India has done when they regulated crypto, trading volumes going through the roof, attracting thousands of people to become the forefront of now blockchain development and job creation. So I think the job creation alone, the positive impact of the economy, and also taking a more proactive approach to regulating this new emerging asset class, which only 4 days ago, Goldman Sachs have now officially said it's an investable asset class for our clients. It's now time for, I think, Pakistan to take a proactive approach to say, actually, we want to now be the first mover. We see Bangladesh only next door releasing a national blockchain strategy. I would love to see that being done by Pakistan, and I know there's efforts being made, and we're also trying to positively impact this. But I think it's got a huge impact for people on the retail level as well. To now, if we do see an exchange in Pakistan offering a regulated way, we can see for the first time a more financially inclusive society, whereby maybe people, quite frankly, can't buy houses, land, even gold, but maybe everybody does have a mobile phone, and everybody can simply buy a very small Satoshi, or even a smaller version of a Satoshi, which inshallah will appreciate through time, as opposed to their money that's under their mattress or in their house, which is not appreciating.
Even it's legalized.
And it's legalized. So that's the vision would be a regulated, legalized way in which Pakistanis can finally interact with this new exciting asset class, inshallah.
Inshallah. Right. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for having me.
I think that'll be all from our end this week, and we look forward to you joining us next week, and all of our viewers joining back in next week.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Would love to be brought on again. I hope this was useful, and keep doing great things, and also really excited to see how Stacks Pakistan continues to grow, inshallah. So thanks a lot and take care.